Good evening, everyone. How are we? This is just a quick check, just to see whether or not the audio is working, and I think the video is working okay. Ooh. Evening all, evening all. Excellent, excellent. How is everyone? There we go, that's working okay now. So, one of the frustrating things, I don't know why this happens, but sometimes when I use one of my brushes, which is the Orb Cracks brush, it doubles up. So I'm not quite sure why it does that, but yeah, the only way to get around that is to just shut down ZBrush and start it again, which is kind of irritating, but that's okay. So a big welcome to all of you folks that are here. It's 8:02. Let's see who we've got in the chat. Dagvin, good to see you, buddy. Ghoul, good to see you. Henry Collier, evening. There's the lap noises, that's why we joined. Ghoul, Moth sounds good to me. Moth Matt, can hear you and see your orb. Taylor Hughes, hey mate, glad to be here. Welcome everyone. So, one of the things I don't say address, but at the start is, so we had some mixed reviews from last week about the sound. So, because I'm using the inbuilt microphone on the iPad, the sound of the kind of the scritching and scratching of the pen as I'm sculpting kind of has you guys split. Some people really like it because it's kind of an ASMR situation, the sound of the pencil scratching away. Other people are like, no, Alex, we'd prefer to hear your dulcet tones. So my own opinion, and the opinion of my beautiful wife, as we went back and listened to the recordings, we're on team's tap and scratch. Like, I really actually quite like the sound of the pen as it's working on the screen. I think it adds a certain je ne sais quoi to the evening's events. So I've made the executive decision to keep it in. So if you guys don't like the scratching noise, turn it down. I don't particularly say anything that interesting anyway, so you're not missing out on much. So we've got Ginger Star, good evening. Velkona, praise the orb. Taylor Hughes, dulcet indeed. Henry Collier, 100% ASMR. No playlist, all scritch. Excellent. Now, that was very easy to try and convince you guys. So, in terms of what we're making tonight, well, my original plan is I was going to make some more Gremlins for there's the add-on of the extra Gremlin scamps. Now, we sculpted the first one of those last week, and that was really fun. We made her from scratch. So my plan was either make some more of those today, using the dollies that I have already. So we've got a lady gremlin dolly now from last week, and then I have a boy gremlin dolly that I've been using to make the existing models. but I wasn't sure if that would be too exciting to watch. You know, I think it's not as interesting when you're making models using pre-existing parts. It's actually something that I've been quite enjoying, making stuff from scratch since using the iPad. I mean, I used to do it when I was using a computer and graphics tablet as well, but I do find, you know, I'm currently all cozy on the sofa. I've got my feet up. It's a lot easier to do that when you've got an iPad, and it allows me to be a bit more, you know, enjoy the process rather than kind of sitting bolt upright at a desk. So I've been able to really enjoy the full sculpting process. In terms of the other stretch goals, now we do have the community stretch goal. I still need to do the polls for that, which I will be doing in the next, or will start to be doing in the next few days. In terms of what else there is to sculpt for the campaign, we're doing all right. We're kind of smashing those stretch goals. The next one that's coming up is the Terror, the kind of the gremlin with the wings and the bird mask, but I don't want to make it until we've broken the stretch goal. Not broken, until we've hit the stretch goal, because I don't want it to be a situation where like I make it and then the stretch goal doesn't get hit. You know, I think it's a much more kind of sensible option. And then, you know, I did promise it in the campaign that I will only make those models if we hit those targets. So I guess a question for the chat is, would you guys prefer to watch me blast through some of the remaining models using dollies, or do you guys enjoy watching me make everything from scratch? Taylor Hughes do a Sasquatch. Now, yeah, well, kind of what I was panicking a little bit, to be honest, because when I had to kind of close ZBrush and reopen it again, it showed all of my my kind of current projects that I'm working on, and a lot of those projects were some of my models for next month. And let's just say there's a very tall, big-footed ape man that might be a part of that release for Digital Workshop next month, and he's already sculpted. Even Dad's in the chat. Evening, Dad. Gavidra, I'd be happy with either. How do you now prefer to sculpt? I think that it really depends on what the model is. Because if it's a one-off model, then I generally like to kind of make it from scratch. But if I'm doing like a big group of models, purely just, and you know they're all kind of a similar type, then I do tend to use dollies just to kind of speed up that initial process. But I don't think it's particularly exciting. Like, I think I want these streams to have value outside of, you know, just us people hanging out tonight. And I do think it is quite good for people to see the whole sculpting process from scratch. You know, it makes things a bit more interesting. It's kind of like, it's like watching a cooking show, and then the person's like, right, I'm going to teach you how to make this bolognese. I've already pre-cooked all the ingredients, we just need to mix it together. Hey Ed. You see, this is the thing. Everyone has different usernames on all the different kind of social media things. So it's always really difficult to try and like pinpoint who is who. It's always quite funny whenever I go to go to a trade show or meet people in the flesh, and I'm talking to them and they're talking to me, and I know I have no idea who they are, but they're pretty certain they know who I am. And then they'll say, "Oh yeah, I'm Darth Vader 27. Like I'm on your Discord." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, of course you're. Why didn't you like lead with that? Why didn't you tell me that was who you are?" Go from scratch. Hey Wayne, good to see you. Taylor, Nigella could reheat Chinese takeaway and I still drool the whole time watching it. Hey, no horny in the chat. Cool. So, I think I will sculpt from scratch then. Now, I guess we've got to do another little gremlin guy. So let's get started. So in terms of the way that the stream will go, it'll be very similar to how it was last week, where I'll just be scritching away, and I've got a screen in front of me. So if you folks have any particular questions that jump up, or any points of discussion you would like to suggest or address, then drop a link in the chat. So let's get started. So we have in the chat, have you done any gremlins with shields yet? No. So basically, like, in terms of aesthetically, I'm not sure if the shields would look right. Because of the big masks, I think it would just be, like, too much wood. So I think a way to kind of, like, in lore, like, I just always imagined that the gremlins with shields just have bigger masks, or like thicker masks that they use to kind of protect themselves. Now, I'm not too sure. Does anyone in the chat have, like, any particular knowledge of iPads? Because there's one thing that my iPad keeps doing, and it's really irritating, is that it keeps making the screen really dark. So it's quite hard to see what you're doing. Now, I would really like it if it was a little bit brighter, particularly right now, as I'm trying to sculpt, and I feel like I can't, like, go into my settings whilst we're streaming, because the stream doesn't just capture the window, it captures the whole screen. So is there, like, a kind of a shortcut that I can do from the screen that can allow me to brighten the screen? hell? Is this working for everyone? Well, people are talking about infinity and going deeper, so excellent. Okay, I'm not sure what happened there. Little glitch. But anyway, yeah, back to what I was saying. I really liked making the different kind of sub-factions, so kind of different cultures within the factions. Now, I think quite a few of them have a lot of legs to make miniatures for, or kind of, add-on things. Now, my question is, once the 12th faction is released, and I'm not going to promise when it's going to be released, but once it is released, would you prefer that I make kind of new models for the existing factions, potentially inspired by those kind of the different cultures within the factions, different tribes, different clans, different regiments? Or would you prefer that I make entirely new factions to collect? That's my question to you guys. Really interesting. So this is a trend that I notice whenever I do extended releases for digital workshop ranges. There seems to be a lot of people that ask for more and more and more of certain releases. And almost without fail, membership drops off massively compared to doing a new release. It seems that in terms of my own personal experiences with kind of the wargaming community, is that they always want new stuff rather than expanding projects that they've already got. And I guess my concern is that if I just make stuff for existing factions, people aren't going to be that bothered. Because normally whenever in the past, whenever I have released new miniatures for existing factions, whether that's as part of another Kickstarter or kind of on straight to website releases, the actual uptake is always rubbish. Like, I think, because in a lot of previous campaigns, Kickstarter campaigns that I've done, I've always released kind of new models for existing factions, and oftentimes, because obviously as time goes on, the factions build and build, you get more and more and more, and you want to do everything for everyone. The time it takes to sculpt a little, like 1 or 2 models for every faction, takes longer than sculpting the models for the new factions that the Kickstarter's for. But they just do not sell. People just do not want to buy them at all. Maybe this is going a little bit deep into kind of shop talk and the kind of the back end of the business. But I would be interested to see the best way to create new content for the existing factions, but in a way that is new and exciting, that kind of gets people engaged, rather than just oh okay, I'll pick that up another time. Yeah, I think there was some models in the, I think the last time I did it was Wizards versus Dark Lords. That I think I did an additional 20 sculpts just as add-ons for the existing factions, and I think some of them only sold about 15. There was like 200 backers, and I think only 15 of certain models were sold. It's crazy. I think in terms of creatively, there is a lot more that I would like to do for certain factions, but I think that's the difficult thing, because there's 12 factions for ArcWorlde. I feel that if I do something for 1 or 2, I've got to do something for every single one, and that means that's the work times by 12. And I know that, I look at, the big boy in the industry, Games Workshop, and they release stuff all the time, but it's interesting that they only seem to focus on certain factions, and they're not making new stuff for all of the factions all of the time. So perhaps it's I make stuff whenever I fancy, but it's just figuring out how to package it in an interesting and engaging way that the community would be like, oh, I need to get on board with this. But that's a challenge for me to figure out. It's marketing. Marketing is always the most difficult part. Henry Collier, an interesting idea. Are there enough ideas to do a specialists Kickstarter with elite specialist models for each warband? Maybe. But then I do think that if you give people too much choice, they're just not going to get everything. And that's actually been one of the really wonderful things about the Gremlins Kickstarter, is because we've been able to focus purely on one faction rather than trying to please everyone and do a little bit of everything. It's been a lot easier to kind of come up with a narrative for the campaign. Velcona, maybe campaign boxes. How was the undead one received? It was received very well. Like, the community really liked it. But I feel that probably the success of it was because it was two brand new factions as well. Like, it was two brand new factions, so I think that was the novelty of it. And I wonder what the reaction of the community would be if I was to do, say, a new campaign box with some new factions, or some existing factions, but new sculpts for them, because we are running out of Battle for Troll Bridge boxes. I think we've got maybe about 50 left, and once those 50 are gone, Battle for Troll Bridge will be retired, and potentially a new starter box will be made. That is nuts. Maybe doing some themed stuff, like a couple of mounted troops for each faction that are missing them, or twin packs like the Jewel of the Dead box. Yeah, it certainly is an option. But once again, this is the one of the hardest bits about the job. It's not just about sculpting minis; it's about selling them. Campaign booster, perhaps, but yeah, like there's a few ideas in the tank that I'm not going to be revealing just yet, but it should be quite interesting. I think I'm going to do, actually, for this guy, like an acorn mask. Can I do? Just trying to think. So I really like the kind of the masks that are like bits of plants and things. Maybe like a gourd of some kind, I don't know. But then I don't want them to be too much like the hobgoblin masks. So I think with this, I'm going to do like it's like the top of a big acorn. I want it to kind of look like, maybe like he's wearing like a little woolen hat or something. So Wing and I have this expression. So in, you know, we're in the kind of the creative scene in Nottingham amongst the young people. It's quite fashionable to wear like these tiny little rolled up hats, and if you wear these tiny little roll up hats, it's often a sign that you think you're really cool, and you go to all the trendiest bars and all the trendiest coffee shops and things like that. So we have an expression called tiny hat men, and they normally have these tiny hats, and it kind of just makes me think of that. So, you could combine ideas, maybe doing a group from one of the sub-factions in a box, either on their own or in a Duel of the Dead style starter, perhaps. Less than 50 Battle for Troll Bridge boxes to go now, Alex. Ooh, less than 50. I didn't realise it was that little. I should probably do a post about that to kind of let people know that, like, once these are gone, they're gone. Wayne, could be themes like Monster Hunters, Mercenaries, or story themes like Great Darkness Falls upon Mildark, Imperials and Harpies trying to tame them all, like a city fighting between two grand cities. Yeah, it's a very cool idea. That will go really well with the sub-factions to lead into a given narrative. My partner's stepdad is a tiny hat man. As an aside, what stuff are you using to do your sculpting? You said that you're using an iPad and the app is ZBrush. Is there anything special you've got for a stylus or any other gubbins? So literally, it's just the ZBrush app. I have an iPad Pro. There's not a particularly new one. Like, I got this in, I think it was either 2019 or 2020. It was one of my COVID impulse purchases. But I only started using it for sculpting
in October last year, and it's been absolutely game-changing. But in terms of anything else, it's just an Apple Pencil. So it's actually a really, and I think one of the good things about this piece of software, and I know that there's a lot of criticisms of kind of subscription software. People are like, well, everything's subscription now. Why can't we just own anything? But I think when you're learning a piece of software, the idea of being able to like pay a little bit just to try it out is really helpful. Because I think I'm not even sure if they do perpetual licenses for ZBrush anymore, but before they sold it to Maxon, you could get a perpetual license for desktop version of ZBrush for, I think it was $800, which is, a lot of money, and I was only able to buy it because I used it for work. But if you're just getting into digital sculpting, £800 or dollars or either is it's a hefty chunk of funds. Whereas with the iPad version, it's a subscription, so you pay £10 a month. So it's a much more like palatable price for somebody who is learning. Velcona, are there still metal minis boxes? I'm not sure what you mean in terms of the ArcWorlde products. I mean, yep, all of our stuff, at least the kind of the physically smaller stuff. I'm not talking about dragons or trolls or anything. That's all still available in metal. Now, let me just have a quick look on my... Just want to... Because in my head, I kind of know what... acorn hats look like. Oh, okay. Troll Bridge. Yes. So when we're talking about the boxes, we're talking about the actual physical boxes. So the miniatures inside will still be available because the current version of them are existing starter warbands. But the actual boxes themselves, which can be either metal or resin, they will still be, well, there's only 50 of those left. No, I'm going to turn off. There we go. I think I'm going to draw some lines down there, just because, you know, when you have an acorn in your hand, it has these kind of striations. There we go. I do think that, like, these add-on models are a great way to kind of just give a little bit more character. Not obviously all the gremlins have character, but I think the variety of masks is important. You don't just want to give them all the same ones. I'm getting very tempted to try digital sculpting. You should. You absolutely should. Like, I would highly encourage it. And hopefully these streams will help people get started. I have thought about doing some courses, because I did used to do hand sculpting courses back in the day that I've been thinking about starting again. That doesn't look quite right. I think the legs need to be bigger. There we go. That looks about right. Cool. Is Trollbridge still OG Trollbridge models? No. So the current Trollbridge, the second edition Trollbridge box, is the full Orc starter set, the full Imperial starter set, the full Halfling starter set, and Old Grog. So it's not the original models. And an associated question that might make Rob explode. There's a particular model from that Kickstarter is casting for me, Terrain for ArcWorlde. Now, this is a question that I get asked a lot. Like, people do ask me, "Oh, are you going to make Terrain for ArcWorlde? Are you going to make Terrain for ArcWorlde?" And it's a multi-layered question with multi-layered answers. So, in terms of the actual physical production of terrain, to cast resin terrain can never really be made cheap enough so that people buy it. Because casting resin is a very expensive process. It's a very time-consuming process. And if you think about, say, I don't know, a house. Imagine you're just making a 28mm house. The amount of resin that takes up would be able to cast 20 miniatures. The amount of rubber and silicon it would take to cast it could make enough to make 20 to 30 miniatures. It's insane. But somebody would not pay 20 times the price of a model for a house, a cast resin house. So the maths just don't work. The maths just doesn't work out. The next option is kind of flat pack MDF terrain, which people have mixed opinions on. I think it can work really well, but I think it works better for sci-fi stuff because you can work with those straight lines. You can work with those very boxy shapes, which doesn't translate as well to fantasy stuff. That's definitely been something that we've kind of sniffed about at in the past, but yeah, once again, once you're paying another company to design and manufacture it, the profit margin is just quite not really in there. Now, the third option, which is the most cost-effective one, is 3D printed terrain. Now, we at Warp have this kind of difficulty with our community and with new people, is kind of having a distinguishing between what is ArcWorlde and what is Digital Workshop. Because obviously Digital Workshop is its own thing. It's generic, not generic because it makes it sound bad, but it's rules agnostic miniatures that don't have a particular rule set attached to them, but you can use them for anything that you want. Whereas ArcWorlde is very much its own thing, and the border that's the easiest way to kind of keep things separated is that the ArcWorlde stuff is just cast, and the Digital Workshop stuff is just 3D printed. So making 3D printable terrain for ArcWorlde, just muddies the waters quite a lot. So generally, there aren't any plans to make ArcWorlde themed terrain until we find a way that would be more cost effective and true to the brand. Because with ArcWorlde, the brand is hand casted stuff. Valkona, I'm happy to just watch and support creatives in the sculpting space, but I love seeing new creators join in. Absolutely. Ram said, oh yes, I need one of those at some point. I'm not sure what that is. I'd be well up for a hand sculpting course if it was accessible. Absolutely. Well, watch this space. As I said, I'm not going to make any announcements yet, but things are in motion. That sigh. Wayne, people who love terrain really love terrain, but generally terrain doesn't sell that well. Hi honey. Wingshan, fish shop terrain is my favourite. Wayne, you're right, sci-fi and Wild West works for laser cut, fantasy has more rounded shapes. Gavija, I don't know if you've seen the Burrows and Badgers MDF terrain, but I think that's very cool, and they use more interesting shapes than usual straight lines. Oh, I'll have to check that out. So, I mean, I guess there's a kind of a fourth way, which would be rather than making ArcWorlde terrain, would be perhaps showing people how to make terrain in the ArcWorlde style. Because one of the big things that I used to love back in the day was when White Dwarf would do tutorials of how to make terrain out of odd bits and bobs and stuff like that. And I think that I really want to kind of foster that DIY mentality with making terrain. In fact, actually, at the ArcWorlde Weekender last year, I did a whole presentation on the best way to make cheap terrain using foraged bits and scraps and stuff like that. So perhaps a series of official ArcWorlde tutorials could be a way to kind of get around that and be like, here's how you can make a halfling house, or this is how you can make an elven shrine using bits that you can get at home. Terrain bits. The Guards of Traitors Toll terrain is fantastic. The Ogre Dungeon, I just love your miniatures. I don't know the different games at all, to be honest. I turn everything into Blood Bowl anyway. Henry Doors Windows Eves. Just picked up Victrix's Pillage. It has an entire section on terrain hobby and I absolutely loved it. I have a halfling stick their nose up at fish, though. They strike me as a meat and two veg types. Maybe an orc fish shop. Yes, a fish shop would work very well for the orcs, particularly as they live in the swamp. Henry's wife here. Can I order some cool Christmas decorations, please? Well, actually, we do have... So, for our digital workshop, it's kind of a tradition now that every Christmas I do a set of Christmas baubles themed around the releases from that year. So perhaps get some of those printed up and they would look lovely on the tree. Oh, what's going to be this year? So obviously the Clockwork Core, there's going to be one of those as a bauble. Some of the Saurians as baubles would be quite good as well. Yeah, I think this is going to be quite a good year this year. Lots of things that would look good as kind of cute little spherical things. Wayne, the DIY approach could be a good collab with terrain making YouTuber. Kavija, ArcWorlde style tutorials would be very cool. Maybe it might be worth making a few small terrain add-ons, like you did the little troll for the Pillars of the Troll Bridge. Yes, that's I think that's what Henry was suggesting, which I think could work. I think another thing, I guess, is the difficult thing with terrain is I'm not very good at it. I'm not very good at making terrain, and I think it would definitely take a lot of work in terms of making it all look right, and there's so many incredible terrain makers out there that I think it would need to have something that is so uniquely ArcWorlde about it that would add the value. Cat clearly doesn't know about Patreon addiction. Has 3 sets. She won't have them on the tree? She won't have them on the tree, why not? Shout out to our friend Tina, has some great terrain tutorials. Absolutely, her stuff is amazing. Yes, our good friend Tina does some amazing videos on making terrain, as Wing said. So I think she's going to be posting a link in the chat. I think if you can post links, I don't know. Maybe. But if not, just go on YouTube and search Tina Fielding. Right, I'm not really too sure what to arm this guy with. So last week we did a dual wielding gremlin. So I guess our other options are another dual wielding gremlin, a spear. I don't want to do a double-handed weapon, because I think you could just use the trophy takers for that. I don't think that would be particularly interesting. I think he looks too much of a bruiser for a ranged weapon. So I guess it's either a spear or dual-handed weapons again. What does everyone think? I can't be dealing with this amount of Christmas talk already. There is already a gnome Christmas decoration from, I think it was 2023 that I did that one, but seeing as November is coming up, there is a chance to do another gnome. The Ram's Den, a bone club. Yeah, bone could work quite well, particularly if it's held in one hand. Pickaxe, great weapon. So, as I said before, I don't think I want to give these gremlins great weapons, because it'll be a bit. You could just use the trophy takers with great weapons. Yeah, I do like the bone club. I think maybe kind of over one shoulder, perhaps. Like, he does look like a kind of a bruiser, knee biter gremlin. So let's make a copy. Wrong button. There we go. Pointing threateningly with a bone club over the shoulder with that mass expression would be menacing. Yeah, that's a good idea. Wingshan Smith, can he have a... Also, Wingshan Smith, honey, you need to update your YouTube username. Can he have a tooth necklace too, please? 90s boy band style. Yes, absolutely, that's a great idea. The bird idea is a cool idea. Ghoul, do you paint your miniatures yourself or the tribe photos? I do indeed. Because I'm a glutton. I am a glutton for punishment. I started doing it when I first launched the Patreon, and I feel like I just have to keep on doing it now. Like I've gotten into like a good routine, so it's not it's fine, but it does feel like a lot of work. It doesn't seem like anyone else does it. Just going to, rather than individually bending the fingers, sometimes that doesn't work. There we go. turning out to be a bit of a lad, this character. I definitely feel like if your great gremlin was running low on clout points, this guy would be the one that would be like, hey bro, I feel like I can run this better than you. Have any of you guys had a read of the Gremlin rules yet? The fact that your patron releases are painted and printed as a sign of safety. You know, they can be printed with little issues, and we get to see what they are like with paint on. No, yes, I mean, I do agree. Like, I do think it's good. I think generally people tend to respond better, just in general, to pictures of painted models rather than renders. nice big club. Cool. Favourite faction so far for me? Excellent. Yes, a lot of fun. Thanks for the good point. The number of files I get that need extra support or where the details are far too small is crazy. Warp prints every time. Chef's kiss. Well, thank you very much. And a lot of that is because of the tireless work of our friend and supports master, Jonas, who does a fantastic job every month making sure everything is scaled, printed, fit, all the pieces fit together. Yeah, couldn't be doing it without him. How many boroughs have you played with? Any suggestions for a good floor or ceiling for number of boroughs? I think 6 is more than enough. One set of tools will most likely only dig one hole each turn. One list I made has 3 gremlins with tools, and I've got 6 markers ready to print. Oh. What were you using for the markers? That's what was missing. That's what was irritating me. Shoulder blades. Put the other one on when I decide the pose for the other hand, because I was thinking, I really liked Rami's idea of pointing, but then I don't think that it would work because he's facing forwards, and I like the facing forwards, but then I couldn't do the hand pointing that way, and I couldn't do the hand pointing that way, so I think I'd have to come up with a different plan. But in the meantime, I shall do the tooth. going to have to drop off. The wife is calling. We'll have to catch up on this little chappy. Night all. Night, Henry. Good to see you, mate. Thought about doing like a shark's tooth or something, but I'm not sure if they have sharks in the nether regions. So I think I'm gonna do like a human looking tooth instead, because I think that'll look weirder. Yeah, I think that looks quite good actually. The thumb in the belt, kind of like almost like he's puffing his chest out, kind of macho man Randy Savage type. Oh yeah. It's a shame I spent all this time sculpting these hands and fingers when I let go. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to is definitely a gremlin to watch out for. Yeah. I'm liking the way he's turning out. Drop a cheeky save. Definitely gives me kind of like surfer bro, or at least gym bro energy. I can't decide whether it's the necklace, the kind of the hat, probably a bit of both. make the necklace a bit, or at least the tooth a bit bigger. Once again, another benefit of digital sculpting is that you can just select something and just boop. There we go, that looks more like a tooth. I think because of the tooth necklace and the intricacy of the cap, I don't think I'm going to add any more gubbins to him, because he's not meant to be a special character. I mean, obviously every character is special, but he's not meant to be like too tooled up. I think I'm just going to leave him unadorned for now. But I do feel like the head needs a little bit of a tilt. Not sure. Don't know, it should be like up like that. No. No, he does look better like that. There we go. A bit of a drop down on that ear. I know what he's missing. There we go. Little nick in the ear. No, I think that looks better. I think just the straight on looks the best. There we go. Cool. Right, now to add the good old puddle base. See, one of the other benefits of using a dolly is that all of the characters that you make using it are roughly the same, like, proportions, and I'm not sure whether this guy is like much taller than the other gremlins or not. I can't tell. But those little tweaks are something that I can check once when I'm exporting the models, which I can do off screen when they're ready, just because it's not particularly interesting viewing. No, not that one. And I think that's about that. Might try and make his mask a little bit bigger. And I think with that, he's just about done. So he'll need a little bit of tweaking and changing, but I'll do that probably at the same time that all of the other gremlins are exported. But I think for tonight, he's looking pretty good. Cool, so that's it for another session of sculpting. So a big thank you all once again for joining me. I hope you had a great time. Thank you very much for your company whilst I make another mini for the campaign. I will announce in the next few days when the next stream will be. Probably it's going to be either Tuesday or Wednesday next week, and then we will work on another character for the campaign. Now, before we head off, does anyone have any final questions they'd like to ask before we log off? It's looking like no in the chat. That's fine. So, yeah, once again, thank you all so much for joining. I hope you had a lovely time hanging out. And so, one last question in. Just wanted to ask if you would be available to DM today. Got some inquiries. So it's just about 10 p.m. here in the UK. I haven't had... I'm kind of sleepy now, so I'm going to go off and have my tea. But if you message me either on Discord... Actually, not on Discord, because I never get told when I get a message. Instagram's good. Directly through Patreon is good as well, or my Kickstarter. That would be really good, and I'll get back to you when I'm next logged on. Okay. Have a great evening, guys, and see you all again next week. Catch you later.